It's time now for the Muni Moment. We're joined by Invesco Head of Municipal Strategies, Mark Paris. Mark, always great to have you here. I know you were listening to the last segment we had about sort of corporate high yield and some of the sell-offs. How does that fold into your world in terms of some of the credit spread widening that we've been seeing recently?
Yeah, hi Taylor, and happy Thanksgiving, and thanks for having me here. So I think in the muni market, we've actually been a little bit better. Certainly, muni high yield spreads actually tightened the first half of the year. Now, they've widened here in the fourth quarter a little bit, but nowhere near the 100 basis points that Ken was talking about for corporate. It's about half that so far for high yield. I think that in our marketplace, supply has played a big picture into what's coming on. Fundamentals are good. So we're about flat, actually, in spreads in high yield munis. We were sort of a little bit tighter at the beginning of the year, and now we've given up a little bit of that to go back to even. If you look at high yield corporates, I think Ken said 100 for the quarter, about 150 year to date, and we're about flat.
Okay. And I want to talk about supply, but first let's get into some of the tobacco bonds, because as we talk about high yield, so much of that market is tobacco. They've been interesting recently because of the Fed ban on menthol. Are you a tobacco buyer?
Yeah, so I think, there's certainly some good entry points here in tobacco. I think that the high yield sector is heavy in the tobacco market. These are based on the settlement agreement that all the states did. The issue really isn't just menthol, though. The cessation rates have gone up a little bit. When the cessation rates go up a little bit, the credit gets a little bit more volatile. It's been a big ride down. I think there are some decent entry points here, but I think you have to be very careful in the sector. The yields are going to be very enticing, but it's all about the price movements going forward. December is usually a pretty good month for munis. I would expect tobacco to firm up a little bit, but again, a sector you need to be very careful about.
Well, you say that December is usually a pretty good month for munis, so let's push it forward into December and next year and talk about some of the supply and demand dynamics that we've seen. This year, we sort of struggled with supply. We didn't get an infrastructure bill, nothing to really push us forward. Where do we see supply going from here?
Well, I think you do have gridlock in Washington right now, so I don't think there'll be any probably new bills on the table. I think infrastructure is still a long way away. We have about 25% less supply this year than last year. Even if we get a little bump in supply next year, we're still looking at about 20% off where we were 2016, 2017, very big supply years. This year, again, 25% low. Next year, maybe about 20% lower. That environment's going to continue. We think that means that it's still a good environment to invest in munis. The supply-demand dynamics, demand hasn't been great this year. We think that'll start to pick up next year, but the supply picture is going to continue to remain low.